Welcome to our very first Genealogy Garage online. And the beauty of having this online is you don't have to wrestle with parking to get to Central Library, but I can't see your beautiful faces and I miss you. So I hope you're out there, and just know that my heart is with you and I hope you're all being safe. And thank you for joining today. This is the start of our series online, and we're going to have another one next month. It's always going to be the third Saturday of the month. Probably 11 a.m., but I'm still trying to figure out what time is best. So if you guys have any preferences on what time you'd like to have these, just send me an email and let me know. Normally we're at 11 a.m. Today we're at 3 p.m. We can be flexible, but if there's an overwhelming decision for a different time, then we'll do that. I wanted to also say that this is just one of the many events Los Angeles Public Library is putting on for our patrons. We have a couple more genealogy things coming up next Thursday. We're starting off our LA Libros Festival with a presentation by John Schmal. You may remember him. He's done German and Mexico genealogy research presentations for us in the past. And he's doing a presentation called Searching for Your Indigenous Roots in Mexico. So if you have that in your heritage, you'll definitely want to check in next Thursday. And then in October for Genealogy Garage, we're going to have a couple of the librarians from our digitization department come in and talk about how to think like an archivist. And they'll be talking about how to preserve a lot of the things you're collecting for your family tree. So anytime you want to see what's going on at the library, just go to lapl.org. And we have an events section, and you can type genealogy as a keyword and you'll see what's happening everywhere. We're still closed to the public, so all of the events are going to be virtual for a while. So check in on us. So today I'm really excited. We're going to welcome back Christine Cohen. She's the former Whittier Area Genealogical Society president, and she is a great speaker, does wonderful presentations. You can see some information about her at her website, christinecohengenealogy.com, and that's in the handout. Below this presentation that you're watching, you should see a link to our handout. So feel free to download that to follow along or check with later. And Christine found out that she was crazy about genealogy when she watched Roots, and Alex Haley's novel / nonfiction piece was really the impetus for a lot of us to get our enthusiasm going for genealogy research. And since then, she's just been gangbusters in researching and presentations. So how we're going to handle this is everybody's muted. And if you have a question, go ahead and type it in the comments box, and I'll be taking a look at those through the presentation and writing them down. And then we will ask your questions at the end of Christine's presentation. So that's how we'll handle questions. And as always, email me if you have any questions. You can see my email address in my little figurehead box there, but it's jhuffman@lapl.org. Okay, let's turn this over and get the ball rolling. We're going to hear about AmericanAncestry.org. Thank you. Here's Christine.
Thank you, Julie. You can hear me okay? Can you hear me okay, Julie?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you, everybody, for having me here today to discuss the resources of the New England Historic and Genealogy Society's website, AmericanAncestors.org. This society was established in 1845. It's the nation's leading comprehensive family research society in the world. It provides expert services through their staff, their scholarship, their website, and educational opportunities to help everybody understand their family's unique place in history. If you ever get a chance to go to Boston and visit their beautiful building, here is a picture. On the right is the entrance, and on the left is one of the library's floors, which is wonderful to go research. I'd highly recommend going to visit. If you're not a member, but you want to do research there, you pay $20 for a day pass to do all the research to your heart's content. Their website has 1.4 billion records spanning 22 countries covering the US, the British Isles, and continental Europe. They have the largest searchable collection of published genealogy journals and magazines, and they are very heavily researching or providing documentation on U.S. Catholic research online in coordination with the Boston Archdiocese. So if you have ancestors who are Catholic and in Boston, you really probably want to start researching on their website. Now you can get a free guest membership to use the website americanancestors.org. You only will receive a limited selection of resources to use, but from time to time they do make other resources available to their guests. So I'd highly recommend getting at least a guest membership to see what they have to offer. And they may be offering some items during this pandemic for you to use at home as a guest. So you can just go to their website, click on the icon to become a member. They will email you and you're all on your way. It's a wonderful place to start. But if you decide that you really want to become a member of the society, you can be a research member for $94 a year or $119 for a household. You'll also receive a quarterly copy of their beautiful color magazine, American Ancestors. You can receive the quarterly flagship journal, The Register. You receive discounts on their services. You get free admission to the library in Boston. You get special member access to certain parts of the collection. There's a 10% discount on purchases. And you get free access to their service called Ask a Genealogist as a benefit of your membership. However, if you really want to upgrade your membership, they offer different levels all the way from friend to life benefactor. So see what the best level of membership is for you. So we're just going to take the website and go across and just touch on all the different features that are available. And as I said, we are only really going to touch on them. There are a lot of different resources available. But you probably want to start and see what kind of databases they have that's relevant to your research. So we're going to go to Search All Databases and click on Advanced Search. Here's what the screen looks like. You want to plug in perhaps a first name, a last name, and a state. So I did, as an example, one of my ancestors, Francis Bloodgood, and he lived in New York. So I want to see what resources they have in their databases. This is the search results that I get. On the left, you can see they categorize the different results, such as census and tax, court, and vital records. And then they tell you what kind of records that you're going to get. If you see the little image icon of a camera, you'll know that you'll see an image. If the icon is just a folded piece of paper, then you realize that it's only an index. And you can sort these to your heart's content. So if we click on the image to see what I got for Francis Bloodgood, we can see that this is the Albany County deeds from 1630 to 1894, telling me the grantor, the grantee, the date, and some notes about that deed record. But also, there's the index-only database. So this is the 1810 census. They do not have a lot of censuses on this website. This tells you that they did find him in the 1810 census, but you're not going to be able to see the image. You're only going to see the index notation. You can search the database in a variety of ways. There are currently 471 of them. They add new ones all the time. You can search to view all of them, view only the ones with images, view your favorites if you have a particular region you're researching in, or if you just have a guest membership, you can just view the free databases. Then to help narrow stuff down, you can filter by location, by date, or by category. So here's just a sample of the current 42 free databases that are available for your research. There are a broad range of New England resources from Boston, Massachusetts, and a little bit of New York, but that's all they have right now under the free databases. So when I do a search by database list A to Z, Here's what pops up, and as you can see, they do have records for other places other than New England. There's some Alabama available. There's even some Argentina available. And if you look on the left-hand side, they have other countries also: Denmark, Costa Rica, Ireland, Dominican Republic, Norway. So they do have a broad variety of databases. So if I want to click on one of those to see what is included in it, you want to do your search for, say, the Attleboro, Massachusetts church records of the old town from 1740 to 1856. And when you do your search, you want to make sure you scroll down and see how they have supported this database and how is best to search. So this is going to tell you a tip. If you use this index, your searchable fields are going to be year and record type, location, and keyword. So always when you do searches in the databases, to get the best results, make sure you look at those search tips to see what is the best way to search to get the best results. So if I do a category search, here are the categories that they're going to plug their databases in: vital records, censuses, histories, court land and probate, journals, military records, the Great Migration Study Project, which we'll talk more about later, immigration records, and then atlases. Those are how they segregate all of the different categories. They also have scholarly journals, which they consider very important, and you should never overlook these resources. They offer thousands of searchable journals, and the most prominent, of course, is the one that they create, the New England Historic and Genealogical Register, which was created in 1847. They also have the New York Genealogical and Biographical Record from 1870, and the Mayflower Descendant from 1899. The journals are a little bit different when you do searches for them, though, than the other databases, so keeping that in mind. And they are written by experts. They're fully cited, sourced, and vetted before they're ever released, so you can very much rely upon them for being very accurate. There are citations for each journal, which can then lead you to more research information. The newspaper collection contains contemporary vital information, while the magazines can provide research tips, all available in their journals. When you do a journal search, the article titles need to be searched using the keyword field. And when searching the journals and other periodicals, the year you see in your search refers to the publication year of that journal, not the year of the person you're looking for. So don't overlook a record just because the date seems too close to too far into the future. So here's just an example of the New England Historic and Genealogy Register. There are thousands of families that have been treated in the pages of the journal. Typically, they solve a genealogy problem, they identify immigrant origins, or they provide a full-scale treatment of multiple generations. And they are currently re-indexing all 172 volumes. So far, they have done 1 to 6. They're indexing more, and they expect to take this re-indexing project is going to take about 20 years. So if we go into the journal and periodical database to do a search, I'm going to put in my ancestor Joseph Boyce, and then I'm going to put a keyword of Salem in because that's where I know he lived. And here are the results from that search. Because Salem is part of Essex County in Massachusetts, they have a journal, the Essex Antiquarium. And as you can see by the record date, it's 1902. Joseph lived in the 1700s, but this record was created in the 1900s. So don't be thrown off when you see that. So make sure you click on that so you can see what's listed in your search results. This is what you're going to get when you go to the search for the Essex Antiquarium: his name, when the record was created, the volume, and the page number. If you have an account, you can then save this record so you don't have to keep searching for it again. On the right-hand side, you'll see they will tell you all the other names that are listed along with that person, so you can see if that's the right group of people that are associated with your ancestor. And then if you want to actually see what's in the journal. You're going to view the page. So we see that Joseph Boyce was a witness to the will of John Bridgman. So far, I haven't figured out who he is, but obviously he must be some importance if he felt that Joseph was the right person to be the witness to his will. So you want to keep that in mind when you're researching. If someone's a witness, they might give some importance, perhaps a relative. So think about researching them. Now, wildcard searching. I'm sure you're all familiar with wildcard searching, but we know spelling doesn't count in genealogy, so this will help you in the misspellings. A wildcard on their website can be used in the first name, the last name, and the keyword field when you're doing your searches. So keep in mind that if you use a question mark, it's going to represent a single character. If you use an asterisk, it's going to represent more than one. So if you're looking for Hansen, you want to use HANS question mark N. That way you'll get the Hansens with an E and Hansens with an O. When you're searching with an asterisk and you're looking for the name Woodward, you want to do Wood asterisk to get Woodward, Woodwards, Woodbury, and as etc. So always keep that in mind when you're searching on their website. As I said, you can then also save your searches for future use. So your searches can be re-executed every time to see if perhaps they've made corrections or made additions. This will help you save time in your research. So as a member, this is a member benefit, that if you can't remember if you've done a search on a particular family in a particular place, you can save that search for future. And when you are happy with the search, you click save, and then it stays there forever. So it's a really nice feature, because I don't know about you, but I forget sometimes what I've searched, who I've searched, and when. So I have an ancestors that live in Connecticut. Their last name is Humiston. I know they lived around 1600 to 1800 in Connecticut. So I'm going to search all the databases, plug in those particular relevant names and dates and places. And then when I'm happy with that, I'm going to click on that button over there that says Save Search, and then I'm going to give that a title. So I'm going to call that my search for my Humiston family in Connecticut during that time frame. So then 2, 3, 4 months later, I can go back in again, rerun that search, and see if I get any new hits. I think that's a really, really good option and a really good time saver. So when you're done searching, you go over to the right-hand side, use that pull-down menu, and you can see all the saved searches that you've done. A great member benefit. What about if you do a lot of research in particular counties, particular states? You can use the function of favorites. So that database with those stars next to it, I have plugged in and highlighted and filled those in. So if I want to just search my favorite databases for Connecticut, I can do a search of favorites and those will pop up. A really nice feature. You can also print a database image for your own records. You can download it. It will open up in a new tab and you can print it. Some of these files are going to be very large, so you want to click on Current View sometimes before downloading and printing. So that's a really nice option to save these things to your own hard drive or your own database file. So here's an example of all the icons across the top. As you can see, when you did a search of download, print range, current view, you can make things bigger, smaller, go back home again. But when you're researching in a particular database, I would highly recommend making sure you to arrow down when you're in a database and read the particulars about that database. You want to know what range of years it covers, what counties it covers. If you're researching it and you can't find your family, it's maybe because they weren't included in that database. So always make sure you scroll down and read the particulars about the database. Now, one thing I want to point out is something called the American Genealogical Biographic Index, reference what's on Ancestry. I don't know about you, but I've used Ancestry for many years. And a lot of times this will come up as a hint from one of my ancestors And then I saw, well, yeah, I think that's him, but I really don't know what I'm supposed to do with this record. What is this? So if you've had this hint pop up, as I did from my ancestor, William Boyce, born in 1690 in Massachusetts, and it tells me that they reference something called the Boston Transcript, the greatest single source of materials for genealogy from the New England area from 1600 to 1800. It was indexed, and they found a reference to him on the 2nd of June in 1915 in this publication, and they give a reference number of 4641. Well, if you have a subscription to Ancestry, and then you have a subscription to the AmericanAncestors.org, you'll realize that they have copies of the Boston Evening Transcript newspaper featured from 1906 to 1941. And during most of its run, it appeared twice a week in the newspapers. Readers would submit and respond to queries, provide corrections to published genealogies, and give background and theories on long-standing genealogy puzzles. And the correspondents were not just from Boston, but hailed from all around the world. And by the time the column ceased in 1941, it had estimated 2 million names listed in this newspaper column. So if you go to the American Ancestors website, you go into their databases and you pull up the Boston Evening Transcripts, you'll see that they have 1911 to 1940. However, it is not searchable. It is only browsable. So you need to use that hint that you got from Ancestry to then go into their website to find what you're looking for. So I did that for the item that I found on my ancestor, William Boyce. And it tells me that in the Boston Genealogy papers from 1911 to 1940, I was able to click down to the June 1915 edition. So you're going to need to do a little scrolling till you get to the right edition and get to June. And then you're going to need to scroll through the newspapers and find that little code that was listed on Ancestry of 4641. And then you're going to get the item that was submitted to the newspapers. It talks about how they have found no proof that William was the father of Samuel, William, and Jonathan, and on and on and on. So this can be a very interesting reference, but I think people don't realize that it's out there. It often mentions a lot about deeds, wills, baptisms, a very, very interesting resource that I think is not utilized enough. And then just as another little caveat, if you go to Ancestry and you get a hint, and it's 1906 to 1910, which is, so that range is not found on the American Ancestors website, you can go to news.google.com/newspapers, and they do have the run of Boston Evening Transcripts for that period. So just to help you out to try and find what you need for that time frame. We're going to jump down now from the databases to the special interest databases, and these are what they call the external databases. There are only about 5 of them, but they can be very useful. So the first one is the 19th century U.S. newspapers. They have about 401 publications spanning the whole time frame of the 19th century. So if we're going to click on advanced search, and we're going to search for the name Phippen in Boston, and I want to see if there's any weddings available. So I did a search using that, and I get a marriage notice that was in Winchester between Josiah Phippen and Ada Greeley of Boston. They have something called the Oxford Reference. This is an excellent reference for the origins of surnames in the United Kingdom, giving a lot of great spelling variations, an explanation of surname origins, and geographical distribution of surnames. So if you have ancestors in Britain and Ireland, this could be a very good resource. How you use it is you search for your surname, scrolling down to till you finally find the one that you want. I looked up the name Klein, C-L-I-N-E. There are 45,000 names listed. This tells me the frequency of the name in Great Britain in the 1881 British census of 125 people. It was mostly found in London. It was found in Ireland, mostly in the county of Leitrim. I should also look up CLYNE as a derivative spelling, and the German Jewish anglicized version is KLEIN. So if you're having trouble with a surname, this could be a really good resource to find out different ways to spell the surname to find searches for it. You can also click on a map that takes the 1881 census and tells you where that surname was found mostly. So that could give you a clue where your family may be from in England in 1881 if they were there. They have another database reference called the Marquis Who's Who. If you perhaps have some ancestors who were maybe famous in the art, history, or politics world. So I looked up my bloodgood ancestors to see if any of them were listed in here. And they came up with about 9 results. The first one is Delavan Bloodgood, who was the medical director of the United States Navy. But we also see Joseph Colt Bloodgood, who was a surgeon, Claire, who was an actress, Wheeler, who was a lawyer, to learn more about them. And then we learn more details based upon the reference in Who's Who about Delavan and his service in the Civil War and where he lived in Brooklyn. So if you have any relatives who perhaps were a little more prestigious, maybe they'll be listed in this reference. There is the Irish Newspaper Archive, Irish newspapers from 1782 to the present. Here's just a sample of the Angle Celt from 1846, the Ballina Herald from 1927 to 1962, the Belfast Newsletter, the Butte Independent. All of these are Irish newspapers, which you don't see online too often. So this could be a really great resource. So I did a search for Peter Coleman, one of my ancestors in the Irish newspaper database. I got 2,000 results. And then if you look on the left, you can filter by title, if you know particularly what region of Ireland perhaps he was living in and during what time frame. A research for our French Canadian ancestors can be done in the Genealogy Quebec. If you don't speak French, you can click on the icon to get this database done in English to research your ancestors. So there's the English version. And a little trick with this database is you are going to log in a second time when you use this website, part of this database. So you want to click on that icon to log in one more time. And this will tell you you have agreed to all their terms of service, and then you will hit continue. The boilerplate is in French, so you're just going to have to go with what's there unless you can read French. And here's a bunch of the resources that are available for Quebec research regarding baptisms, deaths, Catholic marriages, Protestant marriages, Ontario and Acadian research. So if you have any Canadian, Quebecois ancestors, this could be a very good resource. Due to the pandemic, these third-party databases are available to members for temporary use through September 30th. They include historygeo.com, Early American Newspapers, Fold 3 Library Edition, Newspapers.com World Collection, and ProQuest Jewish Advocate. So if you really see these as being very useful, it might behoove you to use this for the next 10 days. Now we're going to jump down to the next resource on their website, articles, guides, and study projects. As you can see, there's 6 different ones that are all useful, and a lot of them are going to be from the late 1700s, so they might provide you, if you're looking for ancestors who fought in the American Revolution or who immigrated during that time frame, this might be the resources that be useful for you. They have town guides to identify research strategies throughout New England and New York. It includes the names of name changes of towns, when they were settled, when they were incorporated, parent towns, villages, smaller sections. These are the states that they have available. All of them are excellent resources. So we're just going to pick an example of Massachusetts and see what they have. So here's their town guide, and it gives you vital records for all the towns that may be found in. There's going to be a profile of the town, when it was established, what county it was in, and what database is related to that particular town. to help narrow down your research. So if we click on Massachusetts and we click on the town of Agawam, we can see that these particular databases are going to be for this particular town, a really interesting different resource. They have articles by location that cover topics including, say, Mayflower, computers, Canadian history. So if you're looking for a particular location in their article section, say we have resource, you want to find resource for your ancestor that lived in Connecticut, you're going to click on that state. Here's just a sample of the articles that are for Connecticut. Connecticut women, non-completely hidden from history, the Congressional Church records in Connecticut, the Barber collection, a lot of different resources and how to use them for that particular state. So if you're unfamiliar with the state, this could be a great way to learn the background of that state of New England. How about ethnic resources? They have topics on Bible records, genealogy, Mayflower research, royal descendants, a wealth of different resources. So for ethnic resources, they have a lot of things about Irish, Quebec, and Jewish, Boston Italian people, lots of very, very helpful, interesting topics to read about. If you have a particular author that has made a lot of publications that you found interesting or useful, you can read everything that that author has submitted to the website. So if you like Anne Latehurt, you can see all the articles that she has written about finding the Irish in Massachusetts. The Great Migration Study Project. And since 1988, the project has been to create an account of immigrants to New England from 1620 to 1640. The published works contain thousands of sketches, many of which are included in their databases to members. So if you click on the database of this project, you'll see you can then do a search to see if one of your ancestors came to the US during this time frame. So I put in one of my ancestors, Gamil Pippin, plugged his name in, and I find him in the database along with a lot of other Pippin people. You can see there's just hundreds and hundreds of records in this Great Migration database. So if I click on Gamil and see what's listed in the Great Migration database for him, I'll see about the will of one of his relatives, his brother-in-law, and all the resources about all the information about him that they have located with footnotes and endnotes about where they found all this information. And as I said, these are all very much vetted and very much useful, and you don't really need to worry about their authenticity resources. They have the Early New England Family Study Project, which they are adding to all the time. It uses the Torrey Bibliology Index of Marriages and Recent Successors as a guide. It mostly focuses on individuals who came between 1641 and 1700. So if you have ancestors that came during that time, this could be a great resource. Always adding new families to this study project. Here's just a sampling of the families that are listed in this study project, just the G through Ks. So if we want to say, look at what they have for Henry Kimbrell, married in 1641. This is the thoroughly researched documentation that they have for him, his parents, when he was born, when he probably died, who he married. Very, very informative and excellent research. If you have family from Western Massachusetts in 1790, this project addresses those that were listed in the 1790 census for Berkshire and Hampshire counties in Massachusetts. So they are constantly adding, as I said, new families to this. Here's a sample of one of the sketches of one of those people for Mr. Hammond, and it gives lots of details on where they found all this information, who his wife was, who his children were, etc. If you have people from Vermont during this time frame, they have early Vermont settlers. to 1784, which is, and there, as I said, they keep adding more. This is not a stagnant resource. So here's John Bosworth from Pomfret, and we learn all about him and his family. And please make special note that if you look in the bottom, you'll see all of the footnotes on and where they got this information, and then perhaps giving you hints on your research and where you should go with it after that. Make sure you view those footnotes. We're next going to jump over to their library catalog, which is vast. So if we go to search, we scroll down to library catalog, we can see that the physical library in Boston on the 7th floor has 30,000 titles of published genealogy, 40,000 local histories, 4,500 journals and periodicals, reference works, and 12,000 rare books to research physically if you go to their Boston library. However, if you're at home and you want to see what's available, you can search in 6 different ways in their library catalog: title, author, subject, call number, keyword, and advanced search. So we go to the library catalog and we do a subject search. We can enter a family name or a place or a deed. So Nova Scotia deeds, German Americans, Lincoln County, Benson family. I entered one of my ancestral families, the Borst family in upstate New York, under the subject category for their catalog. And it tells me that they have 3 resources for this family, and that these resources are on the website or physically at the location. So if you're lucky enough in being at home, you see that it says website. You can then click on website and it will take you to archive.org, where that book is located about the Borst family. You can do a keyword search. So if we do a search for the Palatines, which what the Borsts were, Germans who immigrated in the early 1700s in upstate New York, as my keyword search, I get 45 titles. They list them in most relevant to least relevant going forward. And as you can see, most of these are only available physically at the library, but maybe they're at a different library near you and you want to use WorldCat to see if they're located in a local library that we can go research at when we can do that again. If you want to find out what books are available only online, you can also narrow your search that way. So you want to plug in, say, Sullivan County and search for only online resources that are available for that county. And that tells me there's marriage records, Methodist Episcopal Church records, graveyard records, and all of those are, of course, online. You click on the icon that says website, and then you can see the item. Now, recently they just updated their digital book and manuscript collection for the Weiner Family Jewish Heritage Collection, the R. Stanton Avery Special Collection, and their Research Library Collection. This was just updated about a week ago. So here is the new front page of their digital library and archives to be able to advance search or do browsing. And I just wanted to give you an example of the digital records that are in this collection: church records, letters, family history books, registers, local histories, Civil War books. This is just an example of what you can find available. This is a Civil War letter that's 61 pages long of correspondence between Rutherford Chapman of the Maine Infantry to his wife, Catherine, in 1863. That could be very interesting to read. It may not be your ancestor, but maybe you did have an ancestor who served in the Civil War in Maine. It could be very interesting to read. They have handwritten registers of births and deaths, such as this one of the Woods family of Lancaster, Massachusetts, and Fairleigh, Vermont. Here's a letter from Jane Meekum to her dearest grandson, in which she reproves and advises Josiah concerning the loss of his leg and suggests a book to read for quieting your mind. She requests that Josiah continue to cultivate writing with Zuttel's new method of spelling and notes. Her shock concerning the death of General Nathan Greene. This could be an interesting read, perhaps. They have a lot of city directories also in this collection. Here's just an example of the 1827 Baltimore City Directory. And as I said, thousands and thousands of family history books. This is just an example of the various books that are available to search in this collection, from the Coffin family, the Stevens family, the Arms family, etc. They also have the Jewish collection, includes Bureau of Jewish Education records, community and social and service organizations, Jewish communities of the North Shore, the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society. That's also just updated in this collection. If you've got a brick wall and you feel like you need to enlist the help of an expert assistance, they are here to help you, where you consult or hire expert researchers. For members, for $85 for an hour, they will consult with you. And during the pandemic, they are willing to do this over Zoom. So if you're just stuck and you need some help, you may want to engage their services. If you want to go more in depth, you can have a research service request at $675 currently for members to get a detailed research done if you have just reached a brick wall and you need some more help. So say that you need to find, here's an example of a research request. You want to find, did Breedlove Mills and Thomas Rowley marry each other? Is Breedlove Mills the daughter of Isaac Mills? Who were Breedlove and Thomas's children? If you submit that, they will then do an in-depth research for you with very detailed notes. As a member benefit, if you do find something in their library catalog and you cannot find a copy of that book locally, you can have them copy 25 pages free per calendar year and scan and send them to you in various formats. So that could be really helpful if you just desperately need a copy of something from one particular book. They will copy that and send that to you. Another member benefit is the service called Ask a Genealogist. If you're doing some research and you don't know where something could be located, you can ask them to assist you. Where is a newspaper located? What are some good recommendations? This is all a member benefit included in your membership. Next, we're going to talk about the different learning and improvement resources available on their website. As you can see, there's lots and lots and lots of them. We're just going to dabble in some of them. They have something called subject guides. You can use all of these in your research regarding how to use their website, how to get organized, how to preserve your family treasures, genealogy for the next generation, writing and publishing your family history, how to do the basic steps. What do I do? What formats are available? How about software? You don't know what software is best for you. They've done an analysis of how much everything costs and what they think of it and special notes about it. Research and resources. There's different guides for all of these different areas of study, including African American, Japanese, Quaker, Polish, all over the place. So we're just going to take a look at a few of them. If you have Pennsylvania Germans, you may want to look at this guide provided by Alice Crane regarding the resources of doing research there. She gives you a lot of different websites and organizations that can help you with your Pennsylvania German research. If you're doing English research, perhaps you want to look at this guide provided by Davis Curvis Dearborn about doing English research. Do you have New England Catholic that you want to learn more about church records and how to use them? Here's a guide on how to do that. Here's a guide for all the different terms that you'll find in those Catholic records. Do you know what a confirmation is? Do you know what the last rites are, baptisms? How were they done in the Catholic Church? Now, one of the things I find most fun and interesting are all the webinars, lectures, and how-to videos that they have available. So you want to click on Learn, go to that section, and in all the webinars are free to watch, and then as a member you can go back and watch them. Just as an example of some of the ones that they have in the archives, the All Roads Lead to London that was last week, and the Summerhaven Jews and Catskills during and after the Holocaust. There are hundreds of these archived on their website. So here's just an example of some of the videos that you can watch: researching women in archives, preserving your family treasure, tracing your Mayflower lineage, navigating notarial records in Quebec, using New England probate records. As I said, there's hundreds of these that you can watch. There are how-to videos available: how to unframe art, how to store family collections, how to handle old books, that run just 10 or 20 minutes. You can also download for free templates and charts that could be useful in your research under the Learn tab. They have research logs. If you haven't used a research log, you've heard about it, you don't know how to use one, here's an example of how to do it. And that is very, very helpful in your research to keep track of what you researched. There's a section on interview questions. Are you doing family Zoom calls right now during the pandemic? You may want to think about interviewing those family members that you're talking to right now and getting their family stories. And they give you a list of typical questions that talk about: what was it like when you first came to America? Why did you name your firstborn this name? So think about doing that right now. They have a nice little comparison chart. If you've ever worked with that pesky census from 1800 to 1840 and all those little tick marks, here's a nice little chart to help keep track of how everybody aged as the census went forward. There are just so many online and virtual events going on right now. So if you click over to the Events tab, you can see all the different items that are available. We're going to look at the online event section. So here's an example of the upcoming events that are going to be happening online: author events, webinars, online conferences that happen all throughout the month. Some are pay and some are free. If you watch one, oftentimes they will send you a link afterwards with a discount coupon to join the society. The next upcoming webinar they have is using bank records in family history research. I have never done this before, but I thought this would be a very interesting webinar to attend next month for free on Thursday, October 15th at noon on California time. They have online courses: The Explosion of Beauty, the Art and Architecture and Collections of British Country Houses. This is a pay event, but it does cover 3 different live sessions, and then afterward you're able to watch it again until the end of January. They have author events such as Claire Moussaud with Kant's Little Prussian Head and Other Reasons Why I Write, an autobiography in essays that's coming up next month that you can watch for free. You can stay up to date on all the new databases that they're adding to the website, which seems to be pretty much every week there's something new. So you want to scroll over to the news section and see all the different resources that are available. Go to databases, and in the lower right corner, you can get notified anytime they add new databases that you may find of interest. They just recently added the Archdiocese of Boston, St. Francis de Sales, Roxbury, which is now searchable for Roman Catholic Archdiocese records. They have a very interesting blog that is free for anyone to view. I would highly recommend going in and reading that every week to learn new resources that are available. They are very heavily involved in the Mayflower 2020 400-year celebration. And you can download in the lower right corner when you go to the mayflower.americanancestors.org page, the free guide to Mayflower ancestry. And then you can also click in here and meet all of your other Mayflower cousins that are out there. As I said, they're very heavily involved in Boston Catholic parish records. That is one of their new missions the last few years. So if you have anybody who was in that section who was a Catholic in Boston, highly recommend going and using these resources. They've announced a multi-year project to create a database of sacramental records from 100 parishes around eastern Massachusetts. There's a searchable version of the database available for the paying members. Guest members, you have to browse the image-only collection. So if you're a member, it's going to be a little bit easier. They have 937 bound volumes, currently 400 handwritten pages, and 10 million names. So here's just an example of a baptism from their collection. It is going to be in Latin, so you need to brush up on your Latin or have Google Translate handy to do research in this collection. I'd recommend subscribing to their weekly e-newsletter, The Weekly Genealogist. It is free to subscribe to. It comes out every Thursday, always very interesting about what's going on at their society and what's going on in the whole genealogy community. I look forward to this every Thursday. As I said, you get part of your subscription, you will receive their magazine. So here's just an example of some of their most recent magazines. They're very interesting and thoroughly researched. They have a chat service that is available for any genealogist to use. You don't have to be a member. It is Tuesday through Saturday at 12 Pacific time. If you go into their website, go into chat and start typing, you can have one of their genealogists will assist you in your research. I have used this several times. They are all excellent genealogists and really helpful and can think of resources that you may have never thought about. So if you need a fresh set of eyes on a brick wall, think about going into the chat and throwing out a question and seeing if they can help you. These are very seasoned researchers who can really be of great assistance. They are involved in the GU 272 Legacy Project that has the descendants of the slaves that were sold to southern plantations by the Jesuit priests. So if you have any ancestors who maybe were part of this group, you should go definitely into this part of the website and do some research. They have over 100 videos on YouTube about researching. So if I did not give you enough today, you may want to then go into YouTube, go to their channel and see what else is out there. They have a podcast by David Allen Lambert, one of their chief researchers, that is of course free to listen. So if you're on your treadmill every morning and you're looking for something to do, think about going to the Extreme Genes podcast and listening about genealogy. There is a bookstore that they are always publishing new books all the time, such as Puritan, The Deep Roots, The Great Migration to New England. Here is just an example of the top-selling reference books that are available. The Genealogy Handbook for Irish Research, the Handbook for New England Research are two I would highly recommend buying if you have any of that research to do. They're excellent. They have over 60 Mayflower books. So if you have Mayflower ancestry and you want to learn more about it, this would be the place to go. Here's just an example of 6 of the over 60 books that they have available. A new feature that they just rolled out last year is the My Trees feature, where you can upload a GEDCOM to the website and see what hints you can get. This is a member benefit. So if you have a standard membership, you can upload a tree and then you pay more if you want to have DNA associated with it or other media storage research associated with it. So you can upload the GEDCOM. So here's my family tree on their website. On the left-hand toggle side are all the different features available with it: research logs, the dashboard, reports, and then all the hints. All those little green icons are the number of hints that are associated with your tree. Other people cannot see your tree. It is a private tree that only you can view and see. If you click on the hints, it is going to look for hints in these databases: Family Search, Find My Past, of course, American Ancestors, Open Arch, which is a Dutch-Belgian website, Genie, Wikitree, Re-Relate, and Genealogy Online, which is also a Dutch tree website. Those are the hints that it will find that you can then perhaps find more information. Living people is never visible to anyone but yourself as the registered owner and those you invite to see the tree. You may have as many trees as you like, as long as you don't exceed your storage capacity at your account level. You can't merge two trees. You can invite family members to view or collaborate with your tree. It's free. New users will need to create a free account in order to view these trees. Currently, there's no search function for other people's trees, but they are working on that. And you can add facts and sources and stories to your tree. So that's just a new feature that they've rolled out recently, which I'm sure they're going to expand upon. So that is the end of my presentation, Julie. I hope you found it interesting and useful. Here is my contact information and my website, my email, and more than happy to please follow me on Facebook.
I feel like my brain is going to explode.
Oh no, that wasn't my goal.
No, I'm telling you, there's so much information, and I am really glad we're recording this. And everybody out there, you can access this presentation at least for the next few days or so, maybe weeks, we don't know. But using the same links that you use to get to either Facebook or YouTube. And I'm going to do was information pack. Thank. Got a couple questions, and one is maybe how can you find out if AmericanAncestors.org includes any information from Latin America?
I would go to the databases and look and see. It's going to be very small of Latin America. That is not their strength at all. It's going to be a sampling of things.
Can you like filter by location when you're looking
Yes.
for the databases?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
you can. You also may even want to just do the chat on Tuesday through Saturday. Do the chat at noon with one of their genealogists and ask them what they find.
Okay. Can everybody hear me? I have a note that I cut out for a moment.
You did for a second, but you're fine now.
Okay, great. And another thing is, what are the areas of the website you can use without being a member, without paying?
Well, you can have a free account, and you have access to the free databases, and a lot of the resources are free. So you'll just have to play around until you hit that paywall. But in the many libraries, family history centers do offer this as a benefit too. So when we're open again, maybe you can use it there. But I would just set up a free account and play and see what you can get at. Great.
And then a couple of them are for the library, so I'll answer those. And one is, does Los Angeles Public Library have access to all these databases that paid members have access to? And yes, we do. You normally, though, to access them have to be at Central Library in order to get into everything. And Christine, what was it again that our library subscription doesn't let people do, that personal subscription?
The library presentation doesn't let you do the third-party Irish newspapers, the Quebec, and the you can't do the third-party ones are not available as a library edition.
Okay. So normally you have to be at Central Library to get most of the stuff. But if you send me an email, I talked, first of all, the librarians at the New England Historic and Genealogical Society are really great. I have contacted them several times with tough questions that I've gotten from you guys, and they are so professional and friendly. It's really wonderful dealing with them. But I asked them if we might be able to have access from home during this time, and they said no. However, the librarian said, if you send me an email and ask for it, I can give you a special sign-in username and password. So I can't publicize it, so you're not going to get it out of me here. But send me an email and ask for it, and I'll send it back to you. So I'm at jhuffman@lapl.org. And so this is a perfect time for you to experiment and play around with this website that is just mind-blowing. And then another question regarding the library is someone was asking about the other expanded resources we have during this time of closure. And some of the databases have allowed us to let you guys access them from home if you have one of our library cards. So you're going to want to go to lapl.org. And if you live in Los Angeles and you don't yet have a library card, you can get an e-card online, and that will give you access to some of our databases that you can access from home. But what you do, once you have the card, you go to that website and click on research, and that's going to take you to a list of all of our databases. And when you see the list of databases alphabetical, you can see over to the right the level of access. There's little icons. And oh, thanks, Neil. There's the URL on the screen. But for instance, Ancestry.com, the library subscription to Ancestry, is available to you from home if you have a library card. And so what you'll do is just go down the list of our databases, and you'll see on the right a little icon that indicates you can access it from home with a library card. History Geo is another one. JewishData.com. Some others too. I can't remember off the top of my head who has granted us privileged access. But for American Ancestors, you won't see that on that website. You have to email me for that information. And then let's see. Just to let you know, the library, because we are members of NEHGS, we get their journals. So if you want to just kind of take a look and see what they're like, you can, once we're open to the public, you can see that journal and magazine that they publish. And we also have a lot of the books that they're indexing is going to point you to if it's not digitized on their website. So, okay, I think that's all the questions. Louise is asking if we have newspapers.com. No, we do not. Super expensive. So right now, the library does not provide access to newspapers.com. We do not provide access to MyHeritage either, Ruth is asking. However, the Southern California Genealogical Society does. And if you join their society, which is very inexpensive, you can access MyHeritage from home. And so Christina is asking, she has a membership to NEHGS, Christine. What is the limit to upload her family tree GEDCOM? Do you know if there is a limit? How big
for
the GEDCOM
for the basic membership, it's 2 gigabytes of data.
Okay.
And then you're going to pay $20 to go up to 10 gigabytes. So you're going to pay $35 to have 100 gigabytes.
All right. Any other questions? And if not, I think we will wrap it up. Okay. Okay. Maria, yes, this is the question of the hour. Any idea what the plans are for the library to reopen? No, is the long and short of it. We're being very careful. And when we know something, you'll know something. So just keep your eyes peeled to our website, lapl.org. And right now, we're just busy trying to do as much as we can remotely for you guys, but we're not yet open to the public. All right. Well, Christine, I want to thank you again. Just so generous with your time. Your presentations are excellent. And I know I'm speaking on behalf of the Genealogy Garage crowd. We are very thankful for your time today.
Oh,
And
thank you for having me. Hopefully we can do this again in person next year.
oh, absolutely.
So,
Thanks everybody for joining.
okay,
Watch
thank
the
you.
replay.
Bye.
Bye.